everybody. Welcome back to Mom Meets World. I'm Angela Eustace, founder of Radiant Heart Center VA.
And I'm KHYATI, DESAI-SELTZER, owner of Vyana Infant Massage. And today we have something I think that's going to be really new and unique for a lot of our listeners and viewers, and that is about elimination communication. So Amanda Leverett, who is an elimination communication expert, both through her training and her experiences with her own daughter, is going to share a little bit more about this practice, its history, its benefits, and how parents and families around the world can start incorporating it into their lifestyle.
This is going to be a great one. I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
So let's start off with, what do you do?
Right.
What is elimination communication?
Well, I am an elimination communication coach and consultant.
Okay.
And elimination communication is also called EC. That's how I'll refer to it throughout this, to make it a little shorter. It's a bit of a long term. So EC is the practice of teaching your baby to go to the potty from birth instead of always using a diaper. And it's what people have been doing since the beginning of time and what people still do in countries where there's no access to disposable diapers.
Wow, isn't that amazing? And what led you to this work?
Well, I started doing EC with my daughter when she was about 3 months old. I read about it when I was pregnant and I thought it was really interesting, but I had no idea how to get started. So I wanted to do it from the start, but I waited until she was about 3 months and listened to an audiobook, did some reading, and kind of figured it out by trial and error. But I think it would have been a lot easier if I had had somebody to consult with and get some tips, someone who had been through it before. So that's why I decided to get certified in coaching so that I could help other parents who want to do this. It's really interesting because it's one of the things that you hear a lot, like EC sounds really hard, and like, why would you spend your time taking a baby to a potty when you're already so busy and so overwhelmed, instead of just like let them go in their diaper? And I totally get that, because diapers are really, really convenient and they're great for convenience. And that's a difference between EC and what people usually do, is you use a diaper as a backup instead of as like a full-time toilet. And so it's okay to use diapers, and it does make it easier. So EC doesn't have to be hard. You just kind of are relaxed about it and use the diaper as a backup.
Yeah, I remember we had the event for our 1 year anniversary, and your daughter did have a diaper on. And then I heard her come up to you and say, I need to go to the bathroom. But it at least gives you peace of mind when you're out and about. Because I think that is something when parents are considering EC, it's like, we always have to be near a toilet or travel with a toilet or have, so I can understand that.
But that's a good segue. What are some misconceptions about DC?
Well, I already talked about how people think it's too hard, but another misconception is that you hear that sometimes potty training too early can actually be harmful to kids.
Yes.
You've heard the wait until you're
They're
ready thing, right? So I don't know exactly. You've never heard that?
I've always ignored that.
You've always ignored that, right? Because it's kind of, what does that even mean?
Right. When are they ready?
When
are they?
Do kids know when they're ready? Do they know that they should use a diaper or not use a diaper? They don't know. And the fact is, though, that in the US until the 1960s, when disposable diapers first came on the market, 90% of babies were potty trained by 18 months, and that's still the case in the developing world.
Yeah.
So are all these babies being harmed by this? Have they been harmed through the history of humankind? Doesn't seem very likely, right? But what is a fact also is that the wait until you're ready is a marketing slogan by diaper companies to keep your kids in diapers longer and make more money. Right?
Yeah. And the fact they keep making bigger sizes or size 6.
Yeah.
It's like,
it keeps
it's totally
getting
normal
extended
to keep your kid in diapers because there's the size it's available.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's convenient, and you need to wait until they're ready. So, yeah.
So 1960s, until the 1960s, most babies in America too were potty trained by, you said, 18 months. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's because people were doing elimination communication without calling it that. That was just the normal thing to do, because you're not going to be washing all these diapers. I mean, they did have cloth diapers, I think, starting in the early 1900s.
Yes.
But they didn't have washing machines and didn't have all of these things. So people are not going to do that. That's not sustainable. So you're going to show them early on, like, oh, you can go pee here, you can do this, and have them learn how to do it their own once they start walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amanda, can you tell us what you wish pregnant women or moms knew to prepare for using EC with their families?
Yeah, what I wish that expecting parents and new parents knew about EC is that actually it could make early parenting a little bit easier if you have the right setup and you have some encouragement and some support in troubleshooting if you're having issues. If you have someone to go to, this could make things a little bit easier. You know, there's the obvious thing, the cleanup. So with EC, you're not cleaning up messy diapers all the time. So I think no one likes that. And so that's an easy benefit. But another one, and you mentioned this briefly earlier, Angela, is the unexplained crying thing. So it's so stressful as a new parent to have your newborn crying and crying and you can't figure out what's going on. And you check through that list of the things, if they're hungry or they're tired or they have like an itchy tag or something or a wet diaper. And, you know, they're dry, and then maybe eventually you do find that they're wet. And that is often because they needed to go to the bathroom and they're uncomfortable and they're trying to tell you that. And I think we've all also have the thing where you take your newborn's diaper off and they start peeing all over you.
Right.
And that's also why, because it's more comfortable and natural for them to go freely without any restriction. And that's what they're trying to do early on. And eventually they get comfortable going in a diaper. I know. I mean, they're all okay too.
Yeah.
It's okay.
They are, but this is really important because I don't think people think about it.
No, it's something I didn't realize in those first 3 months either. And I was getting peed on when I changed her diaper and having the unexplained crying. And once I learned that, I was like, oh, I can take you to the potty and you're gonna go and you're gonna feel better. And so cutting back on that unexplained crying is a big like de-stressor for new parents. So I would definitely say that that's a great benefit.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think we want to have independent children, right? And going to the bathroom is something that eventually we do on our own. And so if you can respond to that cry earlier on and recognize, what my girlfriend who did EC said was, and this is why I said you have to be kind of with your baby more, you start as a mother to really distinguish the different cries.
Yeah.
Or movements. She would say it was like a wiggle and then a certain cry, and then, which is fascinating.
Certain faces.
Yeah, which is amazing because you're really getting to know your child in a much deeper level than I did with my babies.
Right.
You know?
Because you're reading cues, you're really getting to know them. And you were working full time, right? You weren't home.
Right. Once I was home with her for the first 6 months, so we started doing it while I was home. But I have continued to do it, you know, while traveling internationally, having her in daycare, all of those things, and working full time. And a lot of it's about being relaxed about it and using the diaper backup, because only in our society it's not really easy to do it the way that it was done historically.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of adapt it for how we live now.
Right.
But yeah, it's something that you have to be tuned in, and if you're on your phone and stuff like that, like, you're gonna miss it for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. And the time our kids are getting older now, and we keep saying how now all of a sudden it feels like it's passing quicker. Well, some days. And so I think it's really important to know this is a short period of time, and it does something for baby to know, okay, good, she knows what I want.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah, my mom gets me.
Yeah, my mom gets me.
Exactly. So how do you, I remember, again, my friend who did EC saying, because she was with baby more, really learned those distinguishing cries and body movements. How do you, with your husband and daycare and international travel, how do you communicate that or get a whole team on board so that listeners can understand, okay, I like what Amanda's saying, how do I get the whole team on board with me?
And my husband, he's generally supportive of all my weird ideas all the time, but not necessarily into doing them himself. And this was the same in this case. He's like, oh, sure, you can stand over the sink with her for 10 minutes and whisper to her, and that's fine. But he did not do it at first at all. He had to see me being successful at it. Yeah. Because again, we'd never heard of anybody doing this. I just happened to see some post on Instagram where someone was doing it, and I was like, it just sort of resonated with me and stuck with me, and I knew that I wanted to do it. And so it took a while for him to get on board. It was actually, I had a business trip to London and took them with me because she was still so small. We were still breastfeeding. And we did it on the plane and in the airport. And it was actually, I've heard this other places, and then I experienced it, that when you're traveling, you're actually more tuned in. You're not like just sitting back and watching TV or something. So you're more tuned in with them.
Right.
And, you know, we were like at this market in London, and I was like, let's try it outside here in this corner, and it worked. And it's just like, we were both so amazed, and it builds on itself like that, like seeing the success. Yeah. And then like with my mom, as soon as I told her about it, she's like, wow, that's so cool, I'm gonna do that. And she's able to do it with her. And at daycare, I didn't tell them about it when she was a baby, because I just figured it's not gonna work. They don't even have a potty in that room. But when she moved to the 1-year-olds, I just said, you know, do you have any kids that are potty training? And they said, well, that would be really, really unusual at her age. And I was like, well, we're really, really unusual. So this is what we do. If you guys want to do it, if she starts signing, especially potty, then try to take her and see if it works, and it's not a big deal. And so they did it a little bit at first, and now they do it all the time. And a lot more kids are potty trained now that she's like 20 months old, or a couple more.
So the signing is part of
the
process of learning.
Yeah, when they're very small, it's crying, it's wiggling, it's like a little shiver or something. You know, you pick up those little signals, or they get really still and start staring.
Like, take me to the bathroom.
Or like, I'm ready to do this kind of thing. But then, yeah, they start learning to sign and getting more verbal. She's starting to say potty. Like, she says lots of words, but she doesn't say.
When we were.
I thought she said something.
Yeah.
She said that night.
Yeah, and she does this a lot, and you know, it's really neat to see the progression of how they communicate too.
So I also had a girlfriend, you know, we all have like those girlfriends that's like super progressive, and we're like, oh, I'm gonna be like her. And she had mentioned that she did elimination communication. I was like, oh yeah, I actually remember when I was in India about 20 years ago, my cousin, his wife asked me to take her daughter to the bathroom. She was a baby, so probably 6 months old.
Wow.
And I was just confused. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, she's gonna go when she goes in a diaper. And she said, and my mom said, oh, okay, you don't know how this goes. Go to the bathroom, turn on the water, she's gonna go pee. And sure enough, I went in and I did that, and she went. And I was amazed. And I was like, wow, I just made a baby pee. It was awesome. I made an amazing mom. I did not do it for my daughter. I think it was like, it's like another thing I have to do. I didn't feel confident in it, felt overwhelming. But it is one of those things that we've talked about. Like, it's been done for thousands of years. It's not weird. It's not odd. It's not a luxury. It's very natural. But we've just been sort of convinced that this is
By marketing.
By marketing. And we don't even know it.
I know.
But it's, you know, it's all these like messages we get in the media or wherever that, oh, you shouldn't rush them too much, or let it be at their own time.
How do they make it normalized for themselves and the people who are going to help them so that it will be successful? Because you're saying it's not hard, but that's a big mindset to shift.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you do that and make it, I feel like the best time to prepare is in pregnancy.
Right.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a physical setup sort of preparation that you need to do, and then you need to be like mentally prepared and preparing everybody who's going to be around you that you're going to be doing this, and finding ways, like you said, to normalize it. So the physical setup is pretty easy. You get a couple little supplies. You get this like little top hat potty is what they use for newborns, and you have this setup right beside your bed because you need to be in bed a lot after you have a baby.
Right.
And so you have your wipes.
What does it look like?
It literally looks like a top hat, but upside down, and you put like a little cozy thing on it. I actually never even had one, but I think that they are great and would be so much easier when you're in bed. Like for me, actually, after I had the baby, like I was in a lot of physical pain. Like my back was like all out of alignment, and the idea of holding her over the sink was like, no.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason actually that I didn't start earlier, is because I needed to like get my body back in order.
Yes.
So had I had one of those little top hat potties, you just put them like between your knees, like the long hat part.
Wow.
And then there's like the rim, and they sort of sit on that, and there's a little like comfortable thing that you put around it.
Fluffy,
So yeah, it's like a little sheepskin looking kind of thing. And then they sit on that and go, it's pretty cute actually, yeah. And they go in that, and you can just kind of set it to the side. You have a little table with all your supplies by your bed so that you can easily have them with you. You have your supplies. You're not trying to like go stand over a sink when you've just gone through several days of labor like I did. Yeah, the idea of making sure that they're not too comfortable in their pee is definitely something that I have done with using bamboo diapers instead of like very, very absorbent diapers. I never used those because they can't feel it.
Yeah.
And then they don't learn to know what that feels like, and it becomes very normal to be going in a diaper. So that's part of it, is like cloth diapers do pretty well with that as well. They need to be uncomfortable, exactly. And so you're right, wool does not really absorb. So they have like something you do with newborns to start to learn their signals is do like what they call naked observation time, and you put them on like one of those wool soaker pads and just wait and see what they do right before they pee, so you can start to figure it out that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's part of the physical setup, and we wanted to talk about mental kind of state of mind to be ready for this. So a lot of it's just kind of like studying up and learning what the steps are and what kind of cues you should be looking out for, and like having like a sheet of paper ready to do a little bit of observation, like write down when their natural timing is, like they pee right when they wake up, they pee right after they breastfeed, those kinds of things, and make notes of that, and just be ready knowing what you're supposed to do. And also telling your partner and your family that you want to do this.
I don't know how many resources there are of elimination communication. Are there certain books or people that you followed? And I know we'll ask this later, but as far as working with you, do you do a certain amount of time? Are you kind of a longer consultant? How do you prepare people in pregnancy? What is kind of the most ideal?
Well, so my main resource was the website godiaperfree.com, which is how I got certified as well. They have an 8-week course that you can take to learn how to teach other people to do EC.
Okay.
So Go Diaper Free has a ton of resources. This woman has a book. I listened to her audiobook when I was like carrying my baby around and walking around my building to get her to sleep. And so she's been kind of like my online mentor for this. She has books, she has blogs and podcasts, and then there are a few other books. There's not a lot. There are about 5 books that I've found about this. Yeah, it's I think because it was such a normal thing for so long, and then we suddenly all stopped this for the last 50 years and are just kind of rediscovering it. There's not that much information, but there are support groups, Facebook groups, things like that, where you can reach out to other moms and find out, what they did when this thing happened, or just tell people that it's hard and you just want somebody to tell you can do it, that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah, and then the second part of your question was how I would prepare clients and how I work with people.
Yeah.
So I do highly recommend, if you know you want to do this when you're pregnant, that you set up an in-home consultation, and we actually like go through like how you hold the baby and what kind of sound you make, like what you want them to hear. So you might say shh or psst, and everybody should do the same thing every time, say the same things over and over, so that becomes their cue to know what they're supposed to do. See what the physical setup is like, and just talk them through how they're thinking they want to do this, and just make sure that they know what they want to do and how to do it. And then once the baby's born, if someone wants to, maybe you don't want someone to come over right when your baby's been born, and maybe you want to do a Skype call and just tell me like, this thing is happening and I'm struggling and can you help me? So I'm very adaptable to what women and parents need to do in pregnancy. Early stages of parenting are really hard, so I just want to make it easier. And then a lot of people have contacted me, with slightly older children, 16 months and older. It is a little bit different then. I don't want to say it's harder, but it's different. They are really used to going in a diaper. At that point, that's been what they've been told to do, basically. And so it's a big change. So that's a different approach of how you transition them there.
So challenges is with EC and potty training. We can definitely fill in for potty potty training.
Yeah, with EC, I mean, I talked about some of the physical challenges that I had, that it's just like your body has been through so much when you've just had a baby. And so knowing that that might be a problem and having that solution that I just talked about in place, I think is really important, and talking to everybody that's going to be supporting you and making sure they're on board. I'd say like those are really the biggest challenges. The actual like mechanics of it are pretty easy because babies already know what to do. It's like we're the ones who have to learn something, not them. Other challenges, a lot of it is just about like, I was a little bit embarrassed to talk about it early on, actually, because it did feel like it was kind of weird. And my husband, after he got excited about it, actually on that trip that I mentioned when we went to London, we visited some of my friends that had a slightly older baby than ours. And he said something about the EC thing, and they were like, what? She goes to a potty? She was like 6 months old. And I was just kind of like, really. Let's just move on and like not talk about it. And afterward, I was like, don't tell people about that, because it just makes me feel embarrassed. I don't know how to explain it to people. You just feel like people like don't believe you and think it's weird. And so eventually, like I obviously got over that because it's been so amazing for us, and I just decided I really, really want to share it with other people. But I would say that's another challenge, is just like feeling comfortable telling people about it.
They're not things that we just are making up. They've existed for hundreds of years, and they still exist and are happening in countries and cultures all around the world. So we are the youngest country. Like, let's bring it back and normalize it, because it's beneficial for everyone.
Once you realize, when you think about it, like what did people do before diapers? And then you're like, I guess that's what they did. Like they weren't letting them just go anywhere. They weren't doing laundry all the time. They were doing what we now are calling elimination communication.
And I have a friend who is Chinese, and she said in China, the garments for the children actually have an oval hole. And so when you are carrying them around, the moms hold babies a lot more, and not a lot more, but they hold the babies often during the day. And then if they feel the wiggle or hear the certain noise, then they can just hold baby to the side and they pee. And
that's amazing.
That's one of the supplies that I also recommend getting. They call them like baby chaps or something. It makes it so much easier, because it is really, really hard. Like I don't like onesies at all, because they make this so hard. You have to do all the unsnapping, and you have to like make sure they're out of the way. So just like the clothing is also really important. So I'm glad that you brought that up. For newborns, you can put them in maybe like a cloth diaper or a disposable diaper, whatever you prefer. And like leg warmers, I had those so that it was really, really easy to get her diaper off, and a long sleeve shirt so that they're warm, but so that you're not trying to like undress all these layers and snaps and zippers and things.
That's smart.
Potty training, like weeks are so hard, you know. My daughter was in a daycare where the woman was from Afghanistan. She said all my kids were potty trained by age 1, and I was like, great, do that with my daughter, because we're in cloth diapers, but it'd be great to be out of them. And I think she started like closer to 2, and the more she pushed, the more my daughter resisted. So again, I've shared that she's strong-willed, and so the more we pushed, the more she resisted.
I think it's really, really frustrating, like a lot of things with 2 and 3-year-olds. They're very strong-willed people.
Well, and I've read, going with what you said about the 18 months, I read a book, and it said the ideal time to potty train a child is 18 to 24 months, because developmentally at age 2, they start to become defiant. So if you are trying to potty train once they're in that developmental phase, you are screwed.
You're setting yourself up for that resistance, because they're like, oh, mom wants me to do this.
I'm not doing it.
This is my chance to
start practicing now. For an hour and not go. So one of the things like we talked about is just like the struggle of like you were saying in an earlier episode, like, oh my god, it's 9 o'clock, my baby's not asleep, or like we wanted to use cloth diapers, and I've used a disposable one, and so we put so much pressure on ourselves to do everything right and perfect from the beginning, that it can be a little overwhelming. And it sounds like if we're stressed, that's going to make it harder for the child.
Absolutely.
And so what was your experience with that?
So the experience that I had is exactly what you're saying, that if you're stressed about it and you're like watching them like a hawk and like all you're thinking about is, are you about to go pee or poo? They are not going to be signaling. They're like picking up on your stress vibes. And they're just like tense, and they're not going to signal, and you're going to miss it. And then it's going to all like snowball until you get really stressed out. And so that's definitely happened to me. I've definitely like taken it too seriously at times. And when you realize that you're doing that, then you're like, oh wait, I'm not really having fun with this right now. I'm stressed. I'm stressing out my baby. I'm gonna just take a break. She has a diaper on. Let's just like zone out a little bit and let it go. And usually when I decided on a day like I'm not gonna do this today, then I'd start picking up on her signals and be like, oh well, I guess I will. It's really, really important not to overstress, because again, going back to how this was done throughout our history as people, it was not a stressful thing. It was just like, oh, you're hungry, here's something to eat, and oh, you have to go to the bathroom, here you go. Like, and not anything special.
Right. Well, I mean, if growing up in those communities, you see it growing up, and so you don't have to learn it.
Right.
Or maybe there's a grandmother or an aunt or
there are people to help you.
Yeah. And now it's like all on us, and that's overwhelming.
Exactly.
So I like that you're like, when you're pregnant, I know that we've talked about so many things that you should do and learn when you're pregnant.
But that's something too.
It's a good time to learn.
It's a good time to
It's a good time, because I do think that a lot of women want to prepare more, and no one can explain to you what it's like to be a mother, but there are things like elimination communication that you can learn about and try to understand and have conversations with your partner, because you don't want to be having these conversations after you've had baby. You know, I learned about EC with my third, so you're like, oh, this would have been amazing, because I hated the waste of wipes, of diapers, all of it, right? The boxes that come in, it's just all more stuff. So,
and we haven't even really touched on the environmental impact of diapers.
Yeah, it's actually really an important aspect of EC. You do use less diapers. That's just what's going to happen. And so, one, you save money. You don't buy as many diapers. But two, it keeps all those diapers from going in the landfill. And you know, it actually takes 500 years for a disposable diaper to biodegrade, which they were only invented 60 years ago. So that means that a conventional disposable diaper, they do have some nice new like bamboo ones that are compostable, but that's like billions and billions, maybe trillions of diapers that are in landfills that are not going to biodegrade. I know, it's like giving me chills and making me sad too.
We're thinking about our kids.
We're thinking of kids. And so we can cut down on this, and we can start to turn things the other way now that people are realizing this and realizing that we have other options. Yeah. In a way, it's kind of like a side effect. Though, because the really, really most important thing is it's called elimination communication, because the communication with your baby is what is the most important thing, is you are letting them know that you understand them. And you're
that's beautiful.
That's the really, I love that you save money on diapers, and I love that you keep them from going in the landfill. That's absolutely not to be discounted, but it is kind of a side effect, I say.
I like that. And that's such a big such a big positive side effect.
Right.
Yes.
So Amanda, can you summarize some key points, what you want our listeners to walk away with or to be stirring with, as far as, okay, am I going to do this?
Well, I would just tell people that EC works because it's how nature created us, and babies already know how to do this instinctively, and it's actually just us parents who need to learn how to do this because it's not the norm in our society. So having the right setup, working with someone beforehand, learning about it, getting yourself prepared. You can do this. It's not harder. It will save you so much time in cleaning up diapers, buying diapers. You know, you run out of diapers a lot the first couple of weeks when you just don't realize how many they go through. It will save you a lot of time and stress if you're ready to do it. And it also saves you money, protects the environment, and helps you just raise a more connected, happier child. So my mission is to just spread the word about EC to people that don't know about it and help people who want to try it. I'm actually the only certified elimination communication coach in the DC area.
Wow.
Huge area with
huge.
so many people, and we have such a community that would be interested in this.
Absolutely,
We have
yeah.
so many people that are into attachment parenting and all that goes with that, and
Yeah.
Montessori learning,
Right.
and the independence aspect of this goes so well with that,
Right.
that I just think, I said I guess it has to be me.
Yes,
I need to
awesome.
do this.
Right.
Thank you so much for everything that you shared and just for planting
Thank you.
these seeds,
Yeah.
right? For us to reflect on and think about how important this is, what a beautiful gift this can be with us and our child, and obviously, again, the environmental impact. So, thank you so much. We will
Thank you
share
so much.
Amanda's information below. You can follow us
On Facebook and Twitter
Instagram.
and Instagram. Our websites are here as usual.
And also, I want to plant the seed. Please comment below on this episode. Have you tried elimination communication? Have you even heard of it?
And as they say,
Ain't no hood like the motherhood.